All right, let's see. All right, I should be live now. I think I figured out all this software stuff here, so I'm a few minutes early. I just want to make sure everything was all set up and good to go here. So, as I mentioned before, I do have two big dogs here that will say hi to anyone that knocks on the doors or if they see something. So, please excuse me if they start barking. They are quite loud. And I will try to keep an eye on the chat too as much as possible as I perfect my skills of live streaming here. So I'm just getting all my notes in order, all my paperwork. Hi Andy, thank you for joining. I know I'm a few minutes early. I just wanted to make sure everything was up and running, not like last time. But it looks like I have figured out all the issues when it comes to the software. Again, I'm not a software person, so I'm just getting all my notes set up here. I'm trying to kind of group a lot of questions into one live stream. So there's a couple things I'm going to be going over today on equipment setup, amplifier troubleshooting, and as you can see, work that I'm currently doing on a board. Hoping that Damon, I'm not sure if he's going to be around or not, but I'd like to show him my current progress. Hello all, hello, thanks for joining in. And you'll have to excuse my newness of live streaming here. So just to go over what you guys are seeing here on the screen here, I do have a DB drive 7.5K board that was sent to me from Damon, Crazy Logic's 007's channel. He does have a video out there where he went over this board, and I told him I would tackle it for him. So I have spent today repairing the biggest section of the board here, right down here. I did get it all cut out. I got all the carbonized board out, and it is filled, and my epoxy is curing. So it turned out a lot better than I thought. This board is in a lot better condition than I thought it would be. Oh, thank you, Andy. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff off camera to try to make things better. I do. I have plans on getting a close-up camera set up. I'm working really hard at trying to get that taken care of. I do have a. There you are. Uh, there's Damon. There it is. It's here. Got it on the bench. I've been working on this thing since about 8 o'clock this morning when I opened for business, and this board really isn't as bad as I thought it would be. It only took me probably spent about an hour repairing the worst section of the board. Otherwise, there are some vias here that they're just really, these are just gonna be real simple via repairs on this board. And what I'll do is I will cut all the carbonized board out around the via, and as long as the via didn't get too hot, I will maintain the integrity of the via. So this board isn't bad at all. And as you can see, I cut out the wire that was burnt pretty bad there. So I suspect that I will have this power supply, at least the drive, back up and running hopefully by the end of the day today. So it just depends on how long this live stream is. It shouldn't be too long, but I just wanted to cover the grounds of this board here particularly, because this is what I really was focusing on this morning, to get all the fiberglass work out of the way, the majority of that work. Like I said, the rest is just, I probably have 8 locations of the source. Looks like there's a lot of the source vias got a little toasty. So this was a direct short. Looks like from the battery side of it. So, and I do have a camera set up here. It's my Microsoft camera to kind of get a close-up. I'm trying to work on getting a camera for close-up views that's mounted above me. It's a work in progress on that, but I only had to cut out about 1.5 inch section of the board here, and I've kept the copper traces underneath and up top, so I will keep the integrity of the traces as much as possible. And otherwise, this is board, like, again, isn't too bad. Oh yeah, no problem, Damon. Yeah, anytime you got boards that you need to send, feel free, send them my way. I'll be more than happy to look over them for you and see what I can get done for you. Oh, and another thing, just to show you, I got my very first shipment from Arrow today, which oh, I'm on that close-up camera. My very first shipment from Arrow. I've never ordered for them, but I'm very impressed with their quality of service. I'm impressed with their packing. So they may be another one of my go-to places for when I need quick parts. So, well, I use a JB Weld, the JB Weld 2-part epoxy. With depending on the repair itself, I'll also use fiberglass. What would you call it? Cut fiberglass. It's almost like a powdered fiberglass to help reinforce the epoxy. Otherwise, and then I do use pigments to try to help match board colors. So I try to stay on top of that, but again, it's a JB Weld 2-part epoxy. So, but yeah, so we got the vias here for the sources, and I'll have to go through still and replace all the drivers for the power supply, which won't take but just a few minutes to do on those. With that new Hakko desoldering gun that I got, this thing's pretty slick. It's a single pump though. I'll use it for the smaller vias. I'll still stick with the 808 though for the larger vias, since the new pump is a single pump and the 808 is a dual pump. So so yeah, that's where I'm at on this board there, Damon. Again, I will have this wrapped up hopefully before too long on the power supply, and then I'll just move on to the output section. So, and as I'd mentioned, I can only fit about half this board underneath the camera. So when I get this part done, I'll do a video on the repair of the power supply, and then I'll do a separate video on the repair of the output section to put it in my archive, because I also do archive all this to my website. So yeah, so that's that board. So there was a couple things. I'm not sure how many new viewers I have here, but just one thing that I wanted to go over real quick, and of course for all the people that watch this after the live stream, I do want to put that warning out about the currents behind rail capacitors. Anytime you're working on these boards, especially these big, large boards, you know, upwards of 5K plus, these rails can pack enough to give you a really bad day. So please be aware of the potentials of your power supply, especially when you are testing your power supply section and the rail capacitors start to build a charge. Some boards don't have discharge resistors. So I see this board does, which is good. It's good to see they use a 10K discharge resistors there, but still, that'll still hold a pretty good punch while it's discharging. So please be aware of that. Yeah, desoldering, but I couldn't stress more. If you're going to be repairing amplifiers, have yourself some good desoldering equipment. It will just make your life so much better. I mean, you can see how many transistors are on just the power supply that you got to deal with, and you'll see that I cut the legs off. I'll leave the legs soldered in the vias, but I'll cut the transistor out. I see a lot of people, they'll desolder from the bottom side the whole transistor, and then they'll rock the transistor. But if you have boards that have burnt or damaged vias, when you rock that transistor to remove it, you can actually break the contact of that via. So I pull out the legs individually, one at a time, to help preserve the vias and traces. So that's why you see the transistor legs are still in the board. So yeah, so that's a review of this board here, Damon. I just wanted to send that out to you and show you where I'm at on that. I will be working on this probably for the good part of the day. I do have some amplifiers that I'm going to be diagnosing today that came in yesterday from Hi-Fi Sound Connection. They sent me some Harmony audio amplifiers that they want me to put quotes on, so I will be also diagnosing those on the live stream today. And I wanted to go over a couple questions that people have been asking me, and I think the biggest one that I'm seeing is scope grounding. There's some confusion about scope grounding and the how the power supply drive circuit hold up. I'm not sure about the transistors yet. I haven't done any continuity tests yet. So nothing. I'm amazed I don't see a single burnt power supply or a drive transistor. Not a single one. That's interesting. But I haven't done any tests. Oh, and look what Unity gave us right up here on that upper right hand corner. I do have capabilities now to show you guys the multimeter. Thank you, Unity. I sent them a nasty email when I first got that with their software that didn't work with Windows 10. But I see they released a new version of their software. So yeah, so thank you, Unity, on that. So I do have my meter now up in the corner there for you guys. Now I lost track of where I was at. Scope grounding. So when I am using the scope, I don't have anything for the scope for the live stream today, so it's kind of hard to go over that, but I just wanted to briefly go over how the scope is grounded. I use isolated power supplies. I have 2 amp, 4 amp, 10 amp power supplies that are from, believe it or not, they're from aquarium pumps, 12 volt power supplies. They're clean power, there's no ripple in it, but they are isolated. So the scope, when you're probing, if you're using an isolated power supply, you have to ground the scope to the same common ground as your power supply. So, for instance, I have the Rigol, it's the DS 1054Z. So I have an alligator clip, which some people had commented in my videos that they'll see the alligator clip floating around somewhere on the board here. Well, what I do is I just take my alligator clip and I clip it on the ground. One of these bus bars is probably ground somewhere. One's positive, one's ground. I mean, anywhere where I have a ground, I will ground it to the board, and then I'll ground it the other end to the scope. If you're not grounded, or if you have a ground loop somewhere, you're going to see just some nasty noise on your scope. And then you have to keep in mind that there's a difference between your 12 volt side and your preamp side. Some boards, depending on how they're designed, I have to move my ground from the 12 volt negative side over to the preamp grounded over here at the RCA shields. So it just depends on the design of the board. But oh, what meter do I have? It's the Unity, the UT61E Plus. I bought that meter specifically to show you guys values on the screen. I still have all my fluke meters. I've got all sorts of fluke meters floating around, but I had no way to show you guys values on the screen, so I got the Unity UT61E Plus. AliExpress, got it from them. They're pretty cheap, and now that they have the released software that works with Windows 10, it's a great setup now. So I can show you guys when I do my resistance checks, which goes back to a lot of people again don't use resistance checks when they're doing their checks of their power supply or their output section. I'm not a fan of diode check. I'm sorry, I'm not. I use resistance between gate and source. You'll always know your gate and source values because you have your pull down resistors. So as long as you know how the board is designed and how the boards work, you will be able to understand the resistance values that you're seeing. And you'll see on a bad transistor, you'll see anywhere from a half ohm to 30 ohms to 40 ohms. It just depends on your pull down resistors. This board uses 470 ohm pull down resistors. So if I check between the gate and source, I would be reading my gate resistance with my pull down resistance. So I just use resistance. It's just a lot easier for me to do. And I just wanted to be able to show you guys on the screen how that's done. I don't know, is this meter still hooked up? Yep, it is. So like on the output, I'm sure I think Damon already went over that it had shorts on the output, but I'll check on the gate and source here. So 31K, and you can go through 32K. 32K. So if you had a shorted transistor, you're not going to read 32K. And I'm not sure what they're using to pull down the outputs. Oh, there we go. So I know it's off camera because I'd have to slide this board over. So one bank was 32K. Well, the other side of the board, I have 0.86 ohms, as you can see on the screen there. So this bank is shorted. So here's 15K, and here's 0.86 ohms. So that's how I determine a shorted transistor and also determine my pull down resistance values. If you have an open pull down resistor, you're going to see a really high resistance value. So yeah, that's just how I have done this over the years. All right, so moving on from there. So scope grounding, ground your scope if you're using an isolated power supply to your negative 12 volts or your RCA, depending on what section of the board you're working on. When I'm working on the output section, I will ground myself to my signal, my RCA shields. If I'm working on the power supply, I'll ground my scope to the power supply ground. Now, if you're using a power supply that's not isolated, you got to be careful on how you're grounding, because you don't want to ground your scope and cause a direct short if your power supply, I guess what I'm trying to, I'm not trying to see here, I have like a regulated power supply, but the secondary is grounded. And what happens is if I hook up my ground to anywhere on the board other than like the negative side, if I wanted to check like at a negative rail, what would happen is it'd short the negative rail to earth ground. So you really got to be careful with that too. So I'm going to move this board out of the way, and I'm going to grab one of these Harmony audio boards, and I'm going to show you how I go about diagnosing an amplifier that comes in for repair. So give me just a second, I'll be right back with you here. And you got to remember, these boards are heavy. All right. The Harmony audio board. So these were sent in for a request for a quote request. So this is a HA 800.1 Harmony audio board. As you can see, it's never been opened, so you don't have to worry about anyone else's work. Oh, very important, buy a scope. Yeah, Tina, yo, yes. Oh, if you're going to be doing amplifier repair, you gotta, I mean, I'm not saying you have to have a scope, but I highly recommend an oscilloscope of some sort, as long as it can handle the voltage. Like again, some of these amplifiers are, they can be 200 volts on the rails. So I mean, you just got to make sure your scope can be compatible with the rail voltage that you're working with. But a scope is very important for Class D and Class AB. The Class AB is really handy to be watching your pre-drivers or your emitter followers. Some manufacturing oil there, it looks like. So what I do first is I just visually inspect the amplifier to make sure I don't have any blown transistors, because that's an obvious fault, is a blown transistor. So this Harmony Audio HA 800.1 also uses the 74HCO2 driver card, which is a common card for the Perry Babins Type 4 amplifier. and I'm still seeing manufacturers still using this particular board, so that's telling me this is probably going to be some 064s, or not 064s, some 640Ns on the output. More than likely 640Ns with 3205s on the power supply. So I'm just going to check real quick because I'm pretty sure I already know what they're using here. So, yep, 640Ns. So more than likely it's going to be 3205s on the power supply. These were customer returns. So they were returned for some reason or another. I don't know. I don't know why they were returned. So I don't know the fault, or if there's a fault, or maybe they returned because they just didn't like the sound of the amplifier. Who knows with today's society when it comes to returning stuff. You can return anything nowadays. So let me just nail down these 640s here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my 12 volts, my 2 amp 12 volt supply here. And not make a mess of everything. And let's just go ahead and hook it up. These things, if there is any fault anywhere in this board, these go into protection relatively quick. So the only thing you got to watch out for these boards that use that 74HCO2 IC board is you got to make sure that your 640s always are pulled to ground somehow, because if there's a problem anywhere over here in the drive and these 640s don't get pulled to ground, what happens is they get turned on fully and then it goes rail to rail. And man, I tell you what, when those 640s go, they are loud. It's a bang, and I'm surprised I haven't had any shots fired called. I just probably got in trouble for saying shots fired. But let's see here. So we get a blue light on this, so it's not going into protection. So let me turn on my IG 1272 here. Let's give it a little 50 hertz input signal, and so let's see what this thing is doing. And this is, I guess I will have a chance to show scope here. This is because I'm going to be checking, since I'm not in protect, that it could have a problem with the output, which is kind of rare on these boards to have a problem either in the preamp. If there was a problem in the drive, it'd go into protect. So I'm kind of assuming then that there's probably not any problems with this board. Let me get a scope for you guys here. So you should have a scope on there on the screen. Excellent. Make sure I've got my 50 hertz here. Okay, so I've got an input signal here, so let's just see what we got. Meaning if you don't have isolation, it could be by scope. Oh yes, oh yeah, if you don't have, yeah, you got to make sure if you're using a power supply that is not isolated, you need to make sure, or use a differential probe. A differential probe will also save your scope. Do I have the ability to show the schematic? schematic uh, for this board. I don't have schematics for these boards. I kind of do in my mind, but I don't have actual physical schematics for these. I think on the Facebook page, the Car Audio Repairman, they have a file for the audio pipe board. I think they do. That is identical. This is the same layout board, so you may find it there. But otherwise, I don't have a schematic. I mean, I probably do if I dig deep enough here. But the thing is I've done so many of these boards that it's you kind of memorize how all this goes together, how all this works. Which is good that manufacturers are still using this. That means I don't have to learn a new layout. You know, like hint hint, JL Audio, thank you. Yeah, so unfortunately, again, I don't have a schematic. I need to ground to my signal. Something. Maybe there is a problem with the signal and hold on. So yeah, let me check. So I'm not sure if you notice what I am not seeing on that screen is so let's see if anyone can point out what I'm not seeing on the screen. Can any of you recognize what's missing? Maybe. Let's see. Maybe it's a setting. Oh yeah. Let's see. Does anyone know? I can tell you pretty quick what the problem is here. So they have a switch here between high and low input voltage, and I'm just switching on and off. So what you're not seeing there is modulation. So if this was modulating properly, you would see that the left. Oh, hold on, I'm gonna have someone coming in the door, guys. All right, sorry about that. You'll see that the signal you should have oh there we go, there, I got it, guys. That was my bad. So there it is. So they use a oh, that's cleaner. So I had to turn the gain up just a little bit because of the input voltage signal. So, but that's what you'd find if you had a preamp problem, is you would find that your signal wouldn't be modulating. Yeah, I've been at this for a little while, that's for sure. long enough to be able to kind of just look at these and just kind of already know where to go. But yet I've been repairing electronics now since, oh, I think I started refurbishing vacuum tube testers back in 2014. It was my original business in vacuum tube tester restoration. So, but then I moved on to solid state stuff. So this amplifier here at 50 hertz input has no issue. So maybe the owner of this amplifier just didn't like the output, didn't like some aspect of this amplifier. But that's how I go about quickly just diagnosing amplifiers. I got one more that I'm going to show you guys. It's a pretty interesting board that is a new design and for me. Let me button this up real quick here. But again, this is your standard Type 4 board. And anyone that's interested in amplifier repair, if you contact Perry Babin, he does have a tutorial that has got more information in it than you could imagine for amplifier, how they work, parts, diagrams, examples of what you should see. Love tubes. Oh, I've got thousands of them. Need any? I used to love tubes, but then I got away from restoring line voltage stuff for a living. So that's why I just went with solid state. Just a little bit easier to do, and I can get more of these done in a day than I can a vacuum tube tester in a day. That's for sure. So you got to kind of weigh the turnaround time versus your income. So I found a need in the area that I live in, and there's definitely a need for amplifier repair technicians. So let me grab another one here real quick. It's going to be a 4-channel amplifier from Harmony Audio. All right, so this is the HAA 400.4. Oh, no problem, Damon. Yeah, there wasn't any modulation because I had it on a high input level, and I'm only set at about 2 volts on my input, so I had to turn the gain up a little bit to get the modulation to start. So, them dogs again. So this is a 4-channel amplifier, and I thought when I was reviewing Harmony Audio's amplifiers, I had it in my mind, yeah, chase up his junk. Oh yeah, there's a lot of corners that are cut. I thought for sure when I reviewed this amplifier on the website that this was a Class AB. Boy, was I wrong. This amplifier, again, is a 4-channel amplifier, but it's not Class AB. And how do you know? Just by looking at it. As soon as I pull the cover off, I can tell you it's not a Class AB. How's that? Well, all Class ABs, I don't want to say all. Okay, a majority of Class ABs, you're going to find emitter resistors. There's no emitter resistors here. This is a 4-channel. and you have 4 output inductors here. So really the only time you're going to find inductors is in Class D topologies, because you got to take that switching frequency and you need to filter it to get your output signal. So that's why you'll find inductors. And so I'm glad I didn't submit a quote before reviewing the board, because my quote would have been way off, because this is not a Class AB. This is going to be using 2 Class D ICs, which I'm assuming are going to be SMD ICs on the bottom side of the board here, which I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that these are going to be like, what do they call those? The FDA? No, those are power transistors. I can't remember the ICs that like Arc Audio. Arc Audio uses those ICs, and they're kind of a nightmare to get. I do believe I have to get them from overseas. These ICs are just something else. So if you guys want to hang around, you can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this board out, because I need to see what IC that is. You can't give a good quote if you don't know what you're working with. So I am going to just remove this real quick. There's not a lot on these boards, so they are pretty easy to take apart. You just gotta take the 4 screws out of the end plates here. And on both sides. I know, where's my T-handle, right? I know, old-fashioned still. Oh, they use those clips. Oh, no they don't. Oh, these guys. Alright. It is Harmony Audio. Forgot they did that. I should be able to leave that. I should be able to leave that there. So I'm just going to flip it around here. Keep all my screws together. And so if you guys didn't know, I am a home-based business. I've been home-based again since 2014. The cost of leases here in Central Washington, here in Ellensburg, are horrendous. Leases for a little shop downtown here is probably twice the cost of my mortgage. So that's why I'm a home-based business. Some people frown at being a home-based business, but I couldn't understand why. I mean, if anyone wanted to be in business, that's probably one of the smartest things they could do. Ooh, this power supply transistor's got a little hot. The spreader's a little discolored. Could be manufacturing. But yeah, you want to keep your costs as low as possible, so I don't know why you wouldn't try to, have your business as a home-based. Sheesh, boy, these guys, they really did. Oh yeah. Okay. That's what they did. So the heat sinks for the output ICs are screwed all the way into the heat sink. There it goes. Alright, so I should be able to tip this thing right out of here. Yep, just like that. And oh, they do have a little LED there on the front. So we're just going to pull that tab off. And you can see the Captain tape here that they used for those ICs. And it does look like the ICs, probably the same ones that Arc Audio used. Look at those. All right, so let me clean it up real quick here. Get the numbers off of it. And it is an Xperia chip. Yep, it's the same one, TDA. Yep. So these use the TDA ICs. The TDA, the 8954. So it's the same IC that they use, like Arc Audio uses. Again, an IC that is going to be tough to find. Oh, let me catch up with chat here real quick. Johnny, hey. Oh, did you? I think I recognize your name there, Johnny. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm not sure where we left off on that. I'd have to go back. So the way I work my business hours is I'm 8 to 5, 8 to 5 at the bench. I do take breaks, of course. I'm a business owner, so I can kind of take a break whenever I want. But I'm 8 to 5 at the bench. And then what I do is I go from 6 to about 9 or so at night, responding to all my inbox messages. I do have a website, ellensburgamplifier.com, where people go and submit their requests through my website. So I spend a lot of time responding to those in the evening. But yeah, of course, always great to talk with you too, Johnny. Do you mainly work on car audio? Yes, I mainly do car audio, but I do other electronics on the side, but not under the business. Like friends, family, I will repair their electronics when I get the time. I do game console repair, laptop repair, cell phone repair. I repaired electronics in general, but as a business, I repair automotive amplifiers. Still waiting on the transistors. Where'd you get them from, Johnny? I got the resistors in, but no transistors. I remember. You're the guy in Canada, right? Resistor, but not the transistors. Yeah, transistors. They're just a pain to get right now. I have some good suppliers that I work with. There is a Chinese holiday going on, so there was a slight delay on getting some of my orders out the last week or two. But yeah, wait patiently. You'll get them. And if you need a hand on that, just let me know. I'm always available for the most part. DigiKey. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've ordered from DigiKey. I do have some go-to places. But like Damon had mentioned, Arrow, they're another one of my new go-to places. So I do have a lot of work. I've got amplifiers all around me. I can do, not this particular board. I can do probably, I can get probably 4 amplifiers done and repaired in a day. The problem is load testing. I can only load test 1 amplifier at a time. That's the biggest holdup. So there's a ton of money involved in setting up a proper load testing bench. So I just don't have the funds or the room really to set up multiple load testing benches. So load testing is the biggest problem right now. Otherwise, I can fix boards all day long. If you send me boards without the heat sinks, obviously I can't load test them. So what I do is I repair the board. I verify the signal, the output signal, that it has good switching, it has good modulation, that Class ABs have good pre-driver signals, no protection issues. So if you send me just the board, then you have to do your own load testing. Oh yes, the 2.7 ohms. Yep. I wonder what the car audio scene is like here in the UK. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. There are some people, that repair Sam, he's online on YouTube. I mean, Sam, he does amplifier repair, but I've noticed lately he's been super busy. His video releases have been pretty far in between, so I notice he's a pretty busy guy. So Sam is one of the people I know there in Europe. Otherwise, Facebook, the amplifier repair groups. There are some people there in Europe. So, but yeah, so that's this 4-channel amplifier here. This amplifier did not have any problems either. I already checked the power on this before starting the live stream. Otherwise, I just wouldn't have enough time today to get everything done that I needed to get done. So this again, so it seems like the amplifiers that I'm getting are customer returns, probably due to just issues of either not liking the amplifier, not liking the output, or sound quality. There could be just other issues, but so far I have not seen any electronic failures of these Harmony audio boards that I got in. So do you take work from overseas? I take almost any work. There's some boards that I don't do. If a owner is willing to ship them to me, that's fine and dandy. But they do have to cover the cost of shipping both ways. It is kind of a pain to ship internationally. I did a lot of shipping internationally when I was doing my vacuum tube tester restoration business. I shipped a lot of them back overseas to China, which is just a huge pain. But if you want to send an amplifier, you bet I'll fix it if it's fixable. And again, there's some boards I just don't do. Yeah, kicker. Yeah. Yeah, some kicker boards I won't touch. So there's other people in the US here that are a lot better at the kicker flyback designs than I am. That's probably one of my downfalls is flyback transformers. The flyback topology and how they drive the transformer. So there's that board. I'm just gonna grab a bag real quick here to put the screws together as batteries go down. So I do have one last board that if you guys watch my channel, you might recognize pretty quick. They did send me a what is that? Oh yes, they sent me a HA1500, which I think I already did a I think I already did a 1500. I do so many boards I can't remember what boards I've done and posted videos about, so you'll have to excuse me if it doesn't seem like I've done this before, but I may have already done one of these. So this is the 1500 by 1. It's probably going to be the 74H CO2 board again. Going to be, this is probably going to be closer to your copy of the audio pipe board, your cab audio, all those guys. It's a type 4 design as per Perry. Otherwise I'd give it my own designation, but I don't know what else to call it. I learned, the type 4 design by Perry himself. So yeah, so that is the dual 74H CO2 driver card here. And oh, that's right, yeah. The other Harmony audio I did, they used a TO92 driver, which excellent, great to see that they did that. But they upgraded the output drivers, but what they didn't do was upgrade the power supply. So this is something where hopefully one day down the line that audio pipe recognizes that these transistors, when the power supply fails, these are going to be 3205s, by the way. When these transistors fail, they fail drastically. They will burn a hole right in that board. Yeah, yeah, Demons. Yep. Then I got to discuss that with the distributor that sent me these boards, because that's going to be a problem. Not a problem. I shouldn't say a problem. It's going to be deemed probably either not economical to repair, or spend the money for new ICs to repair them. I'm not sure about that. So oh, I've got one tube tester that I keep here on hand because, again, I have so many vacuum tubes. I need to keep one here. But I sold all my tube testers. I got rid of all my inventory except for the vacuum tubes, because I really haven't figured out if I want to go through the trouble of shipping vacuum tubes out. So anyone that's shipped vacuum tubes would know the struggle behind that. So again, yeah, this is your typical Type 4 layout with your auxiliary power supplies. You got your opto couplers here that isolate your preamp section to your drive. It's another straightforward standard Type 4 board here. Uses a 494 on the power supply, and the M6 and L6 transistors, again typical for a Type 4 board. I can't remember, there was a board that used different larger power supply transistors, but hopefully one day they will change that, because that'll sure help for these boards. And and it's one of these boards. What is it that I'm not finding here? Discharge resistors. So this is going to be a board where when you go to power this thing up, I would make sure that the rail capacitors are discharged before you handle the board itself. And I'm not sure if this one is got a fault or not. So let's just see real quick here. What we got going on with this board. Do we have a blue light? Well, I guess it would help if I turn the power on. There you go, power supply. Capacitors charging up there. So red light, blue light. So blue light is on, blue light's good. So it doesn't go into protect. How about a 50 hertz signal? Let's go ahead and put a 50 hertz signal in this. Double check the scope. 50 hertz on the scope. Let's go ahead and gains down, gains down. Oh, well, it goes back to the scope not being grounded again. All right. Again, guys, if you're running an isolated power supply, you gotta ground your scope. All right, one more time. Yep, there it is. So this board also, I mean, again, this is just at a static 50 hertz. This is just for me to verify the modulation, because an amplifier, well, it won't work without modulation. So it tells me it's modulating. It's modulating fine. I have a 50 hertz input signal and I have a 50 hertz output signal. So this board returned for reasons unknown, no electrical failures. So that's pretty much what I really wanted to go over today. Again, these boards, you know, from Hi-Fi Sound Connection. You bet, Tina, we'll catch you later. The boards itself good, and then I just wanted to top it off here for you guys about a little transistor education. So here are two transistor dies. This is I was just going through some old stock that I had. Last night I was going through my drawers and I found these under my tester. I have drawers just for transistors, just for testing. And these were both marked as IRFP 260Ns. But what do you see different on that? Well, check out the size of those dies. So, yeah, you can imagine that this actually came up as a 925 picofarads, so the capacitance was off. I knew that there was something up with this because of the capacitance. But look at the die size, and they were both marked as IRP 260Ns. Funny. Just to let you know, if you question your transistors, pop the top off. If you pop the top off, you can actually see the size of the die itself, and you'll know instantly then that this is not going to handle, that's not going to handle the current that a real 260N will. So real 260N and a real 360. So just gives you a little insight on transistors. If you have to resort to getting your transistors from an overseas seller, the first thing I do when I get an order in, a testing order, I'll get a little small order just to test their product, because I will pop the top off. It's not hard to pop the top off a transistor. Check out that die size. And that'll tell you pretty quick that that's not a true transistor. So that's what I got for you today, guys. I'm thankful that the stream went a lot smoother than it did last time, so I will try to get some more videos put out for you guys, and hope to see you again. If you like this, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.